Crime but no punishment. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. There has been an awful lot of hype about how Stephen Harper and the Conservatives were tough on crime. And compared to the other parties, they absolutely were. But the idea that the Conservatives were so tough on crime, that the tough on crime agenda was all about locking people up and throwing away the key, well, that's simply ridiculous. It's not backed up by facts. The Conservatives were a big believer in mandatory minimum sentences, and now one by one, the courts have been peeling those back as activist lawyers seek out activist judges being cheered on by activist media to stop this tough on crime agenda. So now the Supreme Court has pulled down another mandatory minimum, this time for repeat drug traffickers. We're not talking about people caught possessing a small amount of drugs, a little bit of weed. We're talking about people caught and convicted of repeatedly trafficking in narcotics, of being a pusher, of feeding addicts and hooking your kids. But the Supreme Court has just struck down the mandatory minimum that the Conservatives brought in for repeat drug offenders in a 6-3 decision. A 6-3 decision from the unelected judges on the nation's higher courts overruling mandatory minimums passed by hundreds of our elected representatives, saying that it was contrary to the Constitution, and I quote, that it was cruel and unusual punishment. So what do you think that punishment was? Were they locking up these repeat drug pushers for 5 years, for 10 years, 20? No. For 1. That's right. The mandatory minimum sentence for repeat convictions of being a drug pusher was 1 year. And the Supreme Court called that cruel and unusual punishment. The case was brought forward by a man named Joseph Ryan Lloyd, who was convicted of trafficking in crack, meth, and heroin. It wasn't his first time of being convicted of trafficking, and therefore he was sentenced to a 1-year punishment. 1 year in jail. He appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court and found 6 sympathetic judges that said a 1-year sentence was too much. Well, too much in all cases. Lloyd is still getting a 1-year sentence, but the mandatory minimum is actually gone. See, judges hate mandatory minimums because they think it limits them. Now, I've never seen a judge strike down a maximum sentence, say, hey, that 25-year maximum, that's not enough. We got to give them more. But they hate minimum sentences. Now, before you go off about liberal appointments to the bench, 4 of these 6 judges that said this was cruel and unusual punishment, they were appointed by Stephen Harper. I'm talking about Suzanne Cote, Thomas Cromwell, Andrew Canastanis, Michael Moldaver, all appointed by Harper. Rosalie Abella, she was appointed by Paul Martin, and Chief Justice Beverly McLaughlin, she was appointed by Brian Mulroney. All 3 justices that wrote the dissenting view that deferred to Parliament, Gascon, Wagner, Brown, they were appointed by Harper as well. Now, I don't know about you, but I am sick of unelected, unaccountable judges being the real rulers in this country. That's not how democracy works. The judges are overstepping their bounds here, and I believe they're out of step with Canadians as well. I think most Canadians would say a 1-year sentence in jail for a repeat drug dealer is not cruel and unusual punishment. It might not be enough. Now, if you agree with me on that, I need your help. I want you to go to our website, jaildrugdealers.ca, and sign our petition. Then share that petition far and wide as you can. I'm willing to bet that Canadians from all walks of life, all political backgrounds will say, you know what, 1 year for selling crack over and over again? Not too much. So we want to commission a poll to show the judges just how wrong they are, just how out of step they are. When we have the results, I will deliver the petition and the poll results to the Supreme Court myself. The Rebel is completely funded by you, so if you can help out with $5, $10, $25 or more, then please chip in, donate. Know that every little bit helps. We want to get this poll in the field and see what Canadians think as soon as possible. So please, sign the petition, share the petition on social media, and donate if you can. That's jaildrugdealers.ca, jaildrugdealers.ca.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.